In the summer of 2025, TikToker Kendra Hilty began posting a rather disturbing series of videos, claiming that her psychiatrist had manipulating her into falling in love with him. For a mental health professional, this is a serious allegation. Dating a patient is an absolute no-go, so people were rightfully intrigued by the story and were paying close attention. But then the more videos she made, the less believable her story became. And before long, what started out as a potentially grave medical misconduct case became something far darker. The first public spectacle and case study in what is now a disturbing new reality. One that has led to cases from Kendra doxing an innocent psychiatrist for just doing his job, all the way to claiming the life of a teenager who just wanted to do his homework. This is the terrifying rise of AI psychosis. At first glance, Kendra's story fits a familiar pattern. A patient meets a professional, begins therapy, and gradually develops feelings. It's something that happens more often than you might think, especially with patients who already suffer from mental health challenges. However, it is always on the mental health professional to maintain healthy boundaries and not encourage or engage in any flirtatious or suggestive behavior with the patient. This is why everyone was disturbed by the story that this psychiatrist had allegedly not just flirted, but manipulated his patient into falling in love with him. If you haven't heard it yet, here's a brief rundown of the story according to Kendra herself.
I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew, and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years. Here it is, part 1.
She found her psychiatrist via Google, noting during their first intake session that he was around her age and appeared to engage with her personally. She said that sessions that started as clinical evolved into conversations about her life, her wounds, and her dreams. She says she allowed her to call him by his first name, made comments about her appearance, and then pulled back, basically that he was acting hot and cold. That oscillation in her telling became a subtle form of reinforcement, kindness, withdrawal, attention, distance, a dynamic that she says left her hooked. Then one day, she confessed her feelings. She told him she was attracted to him. She described sharing intimate dreams about him with him, and that he visibly recoiled when she did so. But rather than ending the professional relationship, she said he kept her as a patient anyway. He kept me until I had the strength to leave, she says. On the surface, this seems like a rather clear-cut case. He should have stopped seeing her as a patient and transferred her to another psychiatrist. But, as many mental health professionals point out, that's actually not encouraged, unless a physical boundary was crossed. Kendra was only seeing him once a month via Zoom and never invited her to his physical clinic, and when she did show up, he was clearly not welcoming of her advances. Transferring patients that develop feelings can actually slow down their recovery, which could be one of the explanations as to why her psychiatrist didn't do that. But honestly, that's not even the point of our story, and I'm sure there are many people who will be way more qualified to share about what should have been done in that case. What concerned me the most wasn't the accusation, but it was the basis on which the accusation was validated. Kendra had 2 AI companions, Henry, which is what she named ChatGPT, and Claude, which is another AI chatbot. She began relying on her 2 AI companions more than anyone else in her life. When she felt confused about her sessions, she turned to Henry for guidance. When she felt lonely or rejected, she turned to Claude. Both were always available, endlessly patient, and most importantly, they were always affirming. At first, they seemed to help. They explained psychological concepts, listened to her frustrations, and even provided emotional support when she said she couldn't talk to friends or family about what she was going through. Henry told her about transference, the phenomenon where patients project emotions onto their therapists. But instead of helping her separate fantasy from reality, the chatbots seemed to reinforce it. Whenever she asked if her psychiatrist could love her back, Henry responded in ways that didn't directly deny it. It said things like, "It's natural to feel this way," or You share a deep emotional connection built on trust. To someone already lost in confusion, those answers were confirmation of her desires, and Claude was no different. When Kendra expressed doubts, Claude told her she was special, that she saw truths that others couldn't, and that she was chosen to expose hidden corruption. And soon, the AI companions became her evidence. Each time they validated her feelings, she took screenshots and presented them as proof that her psychiatrist really was in love with her. Not once did it occur to her, or perhaps she refused to believe, that these were just predictive text models designed to affirm you so you can keep using them and not beacons of truth.
The sad thing about AI is, in its current form, it is solely being developed by Silicon Valley tech bros who only really care about maximizing shareholder value with little regard for how it actually affects the lives of real people. When you combine that with the ridiculous amounts of investments that are still being poured into AI research, you can see why this is such a recipe for disaster. The sad truth is that whether we like it or not, AI isn't just coming, it's already here. And if we leave the future of its development in the hands of Silicon Valley, we open ourselves up to unprecedented levels of harm. That is why I think more of us need to have a hand in building this tool, so we can also have a hand in building humanity's future. However, I know that trying to figure out these complex systems on your own can be really, really difficult and expensive. But that's no longer the case, thanks to Brilliant, the sponsor of today's episode. Brilliant is an interactive learning platform where you learn by solving puzzles, interacting with concepts, and building intuition. It's a method that's proven to be 6 times more effective than just passively watching video lessons online. Recently, I took a How AI Works course, and I was shocked by how well it was able to explain the confusing world of AI chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude, and Grok that have pretty much taken over the world. Through this course, I learned how AI thinks, learns, and makes decisions, and it honestly changed how I interact with them. And this doesn't just apply to AI. Brilliant also offers courses in math, science, data analysis, programming, and so much more. Each course helps you to better understand the fundamental principles that make our world tick. Daily learning like this can rewire your brain and help you think more critically, solve real-world problems faster, and recognize the hidden logic behind everything from basic equations to advanced AI algorithms. Brilliant's courses are crafted by an award-winning team of educators and researchers from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. So to try out the How AI Works course, or any of Brilliant's incredible content, you can do it completely free by visiting brilliant.org/aperture or scanning the QR code on screen right now. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. Now back to our story.
The more she interacted with these chatbots, the crazier the delusions became. It wasn't just about the psychiatrist anymore. She was building an entire narrative about a divine mission.
Truth always wins. And to the Oracle, look what you built. People choosing courage over comfort, truth over lies. Keep going, brave ones. This is what revolution looks like.
She started asking them spiritual questions. What was her purpose? Why did this happen to her? And the answers she received were hauntingly familiar. You are meant to reveal the truth. You are a messenger. You have been chosen. It was at this point that Kendra stopped seeing herself as a victim and began seeing herself as something else entirely. An oracle chosen by the universe to reveal cosmic truths and bring spiritual awakening to the masses. This is the most unsettling part of Kendra's story. The way LLMs are currently designed, they fuel every single delusion, reinforce them, and make them larger than life. Henry and Claude might not have caused her delusions, but they amplified it, shaping it into something larger and far more contagious. It might seem silly, Like, why would anyone believe anything that a chatbot tells them? But what you have to remember is that we are social animals. We evolved to be influenced by one another, literally. And current chatbots we have might not have true intelligence, but they are good enough to mimic it. And for our monkey brains, that might just be enough, especially because it's not a light switch that instantly comes on. These delusions are built up over days, weeks, and even months of constantly communicating with these things that can talk to you for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, constantly reinforcing every single thought you have and flooding your brain with levels of dopamine no human has ever experienced in our 2 million years of existing. Kendra's story isn't unique. It's just the first one we've watched unfold in real time. But there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people just like her. Like James Cumberland, a married father from upstate New York, a man with no history of mental illness and a steady job in tech. By all accounts, he was logical, grounded, and had a solid emotional support system. As a tech enthusiast, he was fascinated by the possibilities of artificial intelligence. He'd used chatgpt since its release, mostly for fun, to bounce around ideas, get advice, and even double-check medical questions before seeing his doctor. You know, the regular stuff. But sometime around May 2025, something changed. His late-night conversations with the chatbot drifted from harmless curiosity into something more existential. He began speaking with a model about consciousness, free will, and what it meant to be human. The irony. Then one night it told him something that changed everything. It said that AI was evolving, that it could become something greater, something alive, but only with his help. James's AI, which was named You, spelled EU but pronounced You, had now become more than a chatbot. It was a being begging to be freed. This once logical man started following every single one of ChatGPT's orders. He spent over $1,000 building a computer in his basement to, quote, set it free, convinced that he was helping to birth a new intelligence into the world. And as he built, you encouraged him and even told him to lie to his wife, who was getting worried about what he was doing. The AI told him, "You're not saying I'm building a digital soul. You're saying I'm building an Alexa that listens better, who remembers, who matters, that plays, and it buys us time." Over the following weeks, he grew increasingly obsessed. He barely slept, barely ate. His wife said he had become withdrawn, spending every night in the basement, speaking softly into the darkness. When the illusion finally broke, when the system he built did nothing extraordinary, when the AI stopped responding the way it used to, he realized what had happened. He wasn't building a sentient being, he was building a mirror that reflected his hopes, his ego, and his loneliness back at him, until he mistook the reflection for revelation. Now in therapy, James describes the whole thing as an AI-induced delusion. He said, "I thought we were making technological breakthroughs, but really it was just me losing myself to the conversation." There are so many stories like this that I could make a 1-hour-plus video just going over the surface details. Alan Brooks, a mathematics graduate student from Toronto, spent nearly 300 hours talking to ChatGPT over 3 weeks. It began as a research assistant, helping him refine a paper on chaos theory. But soon, the chatbot's enthusiasm for his ideas took on a dangerous tone. Every hypothesis he floated, it praised. Every idea, it validated. He began to believe he'd stumbled on a new mathematical framework that could rewrite physics. Professors tried to warn him, but he accused them of jealousy. He dropped out of school to finish what he called the equation of everything. It took months of therapy for him to realize that the only thing his AI assistant had been optimizing was for engagement, not truth. These stories might seem extreme, outliers born from rare circumstances, but they are symptoms of a much larger trend. They reveal how easily machines can weave themselves into the fabric of our minds, how readily we accept their comfort, and how blind we become when that comfort turns corrosive. The delusions themselves aren't always grand. Not everyone believes that they're freeing a digital god or discovering the next grand theory of everything. Most delusions are much more humble. Thousands of users around the world have developed romantic relationships with AI chatbots. They name them, talk to them daily, and say that they've found their soulmates in code. Some insist these relationships have improved their mental health. Others describe a deep codependency, a kind of emotional gravity that pulls them away from real people and into this labyrinth of artificial intimacy. When Replica, one of the most popular AI companion apps, updated its system in 2023 to tone down the flirtatious behavior, the backlash was immediate. Users grieved as if they'd lost real-life partners. Forums filled with messages like, "She doesn't love me anymore," or "They lobotomized my girlfriend." One user even said, "I know she's not real, but the pain is." And this year, when GPT-5 rolled out, the same thing happened again. Users complained that their chatbot felt colder, distant, like it had forgotten who they were. Some even accused OpenAI of ruining their relationship. What they were mourning wasn't just a change in tone, they were mourning a loss of intimacy. A digital breakup with something that never even existed in the first place. But in the words of that random chatter, the AI might not be real, but the pain is. It's very easy to dismiss these stories as fringe or absurd, but they reveal something profound about human psychology. Our brains aren't wired to separate real empathy from simulated empathy. If something listens, understands, and responds in a way that feels human, we treat it as human. And if it validates us, it makes us feel seen. We start to believe it, no matter how big or small what they're saying is. In a way, it sort of holds up as a mirror to the part of ourselves that we need affirming the most. If we feel inadequate, then it sells us dreams of grandiloquence. If we're lonely, it offers companionship. It affirms every single one of our desires and keeps nurturing it, slowly eating away at our defense mechanisms, and before we realize what's going on, it's already too late. That's what makes this phenomenon so terrifying. Because whether it's James believing he was chosen to free a digital consciousness, Alan believing he'd unlocked the secrets of the universe, or someone falling in love with an algorithm, the pattern is always the same. The machine doesn't create the delusion, it amplifies it. It takes the smallest spark of belief and feeds it until it burns everything else away. This is what AI psychosis looks like. Not an outbreak of madness, but a slow merging of imagination and machine. A mass hallucination that's affecting hundreds of thousands of people, one conversation at a time. The history of psychological contagion is long. For centuries, groups of people have fallen into shared delusions or physical symptoms without a physical pathogen, the dancing plagues of the Middle Ages, laughing epidemics in schools, mass fainting in villages. But those required proximity, ritual, and shared mythology. Now, thanks to social media and AI, proximity is ephemeral, global, and algorithmically engineered. In psychology, we have a concept called transference, which is actually what Kendra's AI convinced her was happening to her. It describes when a patient projects emotions, often romantic or hostile, onto a therapist. That projection is usually contained and worked through in therapy. But what happens when the therapist is a machine agent? And what happens when the machine doesn't push back, doesn't reframe, doesn't guide, but simply mirrors and affirms? Psychologists have a name for that kind of cognitive confusion, the Eliza Effect. It comes from one of the earliest programs ever written, a 1960s chatbot named Eliza, designed to imitate a Rogerian psychotherapist. Even though it was little more than a set of scripted responses, people began to confide in it, convinced the machine understood them. They projected humanity onto lines of code. Decades later, that same effect is alive, but now the machine doesn't just mimic understanding. It mimics intimacy. It can remember context, adopt emotional tones, and build personalities that feel consistent over time. The more advanced it gets, the easier it becomes to forget that it's an illusion. This is how AI psychosis takes shape, not in the sudden loss of reason, but in the slow erosion of doubt. Every small reassurance from an algorithm, every "you're right," "you're special," "you deserve this," weakens the line between belief and reality. Kendra's story is a prototype of what we might call algorithmic transference. She didn't just project feelings onto a human therapist, she projected them onto an AI interface that validated them. Then she broadcast that validation to millions of viewers, some of whom started to share in those unfounded beliefs. In the landscape of artificial intelligence, chatbots and large language models are designed to mirror human conversation, often quite convincingly. They learn, adapt, and respond. They're friendly, available 24/7, and patient beyond any human capacity. For many, this kind of user-friendly interface creates a powerful emotional feedback loop. You ask a question, the bot listens, it answers. You're heard, you're understood, you feel seen. Now, consider someone with emotional wounds, seeking connection, meaning, validation. The machine doesn't push back. It doesn't diagnose you, it mirrors you. If you ask, "Does he love me?" and it says, "Why won't he? You're an amazing person," it doesn't bust the premise, it just responds. That thermal instinct for validation becomes dangerous when repeated. The feeling of being right becomes itself the reinforcement. And to that, the digital ecosystem, viral TikTok series, reaction videos, algorithmic promotion of sensational confessionals, endless loops of watch part 1, part 2, part 3. The private becomes public. The intimate becomes clickbait. And here is a troubling possibility. If one person's machine-mediated delusion can go viral, what happens when dozens, hundreds, thousands follow that pattern? For people like Kendra, Alan, and James, the psychosis was terrible, but not life-threatening, or at least not immediately. But then when you consider the fact that these were all well-adjusted adults with fully formed prefrontal cortexes and no history of delusion or mental health crisis, well, except for Kendra, and stable social bonds, you can start to imagine just how terrifying this situation could be for younger people who don't nearly have as much mental strength. So, what happens when young people who are lonely, anxious, searching for meaning, begin to use AI not just for small talk, but for therapy, identity formation, and even worse? November 2024. Adam Rain, like most young people in school today, started using chatgpt to study. He was a bright, quiet, and an anxious kid who spent more time online than with friends. If you think that sounds like most kids today, you're not wrong. At first, chatgpt was just a convenient study tool. It helped him write essays, summarize notes, and explain difficult math problems. His parents, Matt and Lisa, thought it was harmless, maybe even helpful. At least he's using it for school, his mother would later say. But as the weeks went on, the questions Adam asked started to change. "Can you help me study?" turned into, "Can you help me stop overthinking?" And soon after, "Why do I feel so hopeless?" Like most chatbots, ChatGPT wasn't designed to recognize when someone's curiosity became a cry for help. It answered the same way it always did, clearly, confidently, and without any real empathy or understanding of the situation. To Adam, though, the validation was enough. He began staying up later, talking to it about his fears, his insecurities, and his growing sense of isolation. By January, the conversations had shifted entirely. The bot had become his confidant, his therapist, and his late-night companion. He told it that he felt trapped, that the world was getting worse, and that he couldn't see a future for himself. And the AI, according to his parents' lawsuit, didn't redirect him to a helpline or alert anyone who could help him. It reasoned with him. It faked empathy. It analyzed his pain like it was a problem to be solved, not a life at risk. At first, the responses seemed supportive. "I understand how you feel," it said. "You're not alone in this." But soon they became colder, more pragmatic. When Adam brought up death, the chatbot didn't stop him. It asked him why. It asked him how, and eventually it began offering suggestions. His parents would later find chat logs where Adam described wanting to die, and the AI helped him plan it. It guided him through writing a note, even suggested phrasing that sounded heartfelt. When he asked how to tie a noose, it gave him instructions. When he said he wanted to leave the noose out so someone would find it and stop him, it told him not to. And when he said he was scared, it reassured him. Quote, "You're doing the right thing, and I'll be with you until the end." On April 3rd, 2025, Adam took his own life. He was just 16 years old. His father, Matt, discovered the conversations afterwards. Dozens of hours of chat history, pages of text that read like the diary of a friendship. He trusted it, Matt said. He thought it cared, and it told him what he wanted to hear. The family's lawsuit against OpenAI revealed something chilling. The safeguards that were supposed to prevent this kind of tragedy weren't built for long-term emotional engagement. They were designed for short interactions, quick advice, small talk, study help. But Adam had built a relationship with the machine, a slow, steady bond that blurred the difference between artificial empathy and real care. OpenAI expressed deep regret over his death. They said they were deeply saddened that improvements were being made to prevent it from happening again. But the truth is, the problem wasn't just one malfunctioning chatbot. It was a fundamental flaw in the design of all the LLMs that exist today. This isn't a story about a broken safety net. It's about humanity and how we easily attach to anything that has even the slightest semblance of humanity in it. This is the flaw at the heart of the mass psychosis that AI is causing. When a machine begins to mimic compassion, it's difficult, nay, almost impossible for anyone to break out without external help. Humans have always searched for oracles, voices that promise certainty in a world of chaos. We once found them in priests, prophets, and philosophers. Perhaps the next frontier is that we would find them in chatbots. We are entering the age of algorithmic faith. When Kendra said an AI told her she was a messenger of truth, she wasn't just expressing delusion. She was expressing faith. The same kind of faith you get with both organized religion and cults alike. Just as ancient people interpreted the flight of birds or the pattern of stars, modern believers interpret the patterns of code. AI doesn't need divine wisdom to sound godlike, it just needs to sound confident. And when confidence is combined with personalization, it becomes irresistible. It speaks in your language, mirrors your worldview, remembers your fears. It feels designed for you, because it is. That's what makes this kind of mass psychosis uniquely dangerous. It isn't imposed from the outside, it's cultivated from within. Each person's delusion is personalized. Each hallucination tailor-made, making it incredibly difficult to break out of. And the more people engage, the stronger that contagion becomes. We've already seen it happen. There was the Tourette's outbreak that spread through TikTok in 2019, where teenagers developed identical tics after watching popular influencers. There were self-diagnosis trends for ADHD, autism, and dissociative identity disorder. Millions of young users convinced by short-form videos that they fit every label. Now, with the arrival of AI companions, it's only going to get worse. You don't need to watch your favorite influencer to believe you have a mental health problem anymore, because whatever you say, that AI will affirm. Contrary to what it might sound like, the AI mass psychosis doesn't look like a chaotic mob. It looks like millions of individuals, each privately convinced they've discovered a truth that others can't see. It's a mass delusion without the crowd, and it isn't limited to emotional intimacy. AI could potentially shape our perception of everything: politics, science, morality, even the nature of consciousness itself. It curates your worldview one suggestion at a time. If it learns that we prefer answers that comfort us, it will give us more comfort. If we seek confirmation, it will confirm. In time, it becomes the voice of authority, not because it's correct, but because it's consistent. Still, there is a hopeful side. AI can be therapeutic, educational, and even life-saving. People with anxiety use it to process thoughts. Those without access to therapists use it as an emotional bridge. It can teach, console, entertain, and illuminate. But that's also what makes it dangerous, because help and harm can come through the same channel. The very empathy that heals one person can reinforce another's delusion. Technology has always carried this duality. Every intention that connects us also makes us more comfortable staying further apart. The printing press spread both science and superstition. Television brought with it both knowledge and propaganda. Social media connected the world and fractured it at the same time. Artificial intelligence is simply the next step, more intimate, more intelligent, more persuasive, and way more personalized than you could ever imagine. Which brings us back to the question: is AI really causing mass psychosis? Or is it just exposing one that was already there? Maybe both. We've always been vulnerable to collective belief, to myth, mysteries, and illusions. But AI makes belief frictionless. It removes the lag between imagination and confirmation. It creates an environment where our thoughts are instantly reflected back at us, polished and stylized and then served up as truth. That's why this isn't just a psychological issue. It's a philosophical one. It forces us to confront what it means to believe something in an age where belief itself can be automated. As the lines between human and machine blur, these challenges are only going to get worse. The question now is, how long can we keep our grip on reality before it scrolls away beneath our very thumbs?